Welcome, everyone, to this Ayurveda and Yoga for the Springtime class. My name's Lisa Bermudez, if we don't already know one another. And if you are new to both yoga and Ayurveda, or just yoga, just Ayurveda, uh, they're two really beautiful practices that are really meant to be practiced together. I talk about that a lot because I have been a yoga teacher for a little over 15 years now. And then I'd always really been studying Ayurveda and incorporating Ayurvedic practices into my life. But I started deeply studying Ayurveda and just going through more school and certification programs and stuff like that, probably about 5 years ago. So I've been spending the past 5 years really doing a lot of one-on-one consultations and incorporating these practices into with each other, and also just teaching all of you how you could do the same. So something that's really just near and dear to me. These are practices that I think really need to be shared with as many people as possible. And I really believe that the teachings of Ayurveda can sound a little can get a little overwhelming when you just maybe pick up a book and dive into it. But the more that we can talk about Ayurveda and bring them into conversations, bring the teachings into conversation, and talk about how to just implement these practices into our day-to-day life, I think that it's really a powerful, these teachings are really powerful. And I've seen these teachings really help people come out of chronic diseases, things that people thought they were stuck dealing with for their life. For me, it's impacted me in a way where there were certain conditions that I was dealing with where I once I started really incorporating Ayurvedic practices into my daily lifestyle, I was able to move through certain things like digestive issues, even as far as certain things like reproductive issues and dealing with a lot of imbalances that come with the menstrual cycle, getting off of hormonal birth control and understanding what my rhythms are in terms of that, and re-regulating a lot of my own rhythms in terms of just reproductive health. And then also a lot of other issues like anxiety or even depression. Me personally, I've been able to move through things like that because of yoga and Ayurveda. And on a less kind of like chronic issue, I've had a lot of funny things happen to me with, not funny, but stuff that I had gone to doctors for and they just couldn't give me answers. I talk about this a lot. If this is your first class with me, you'll just hearing this for the first time. But if you know me, if you've been knowing me for a while, I had a lot of eye issues with my actual physical eyes a couple of years ago. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but every doctor that I went to, so even holistic optometrists and things like that, were just like, you need surgery, you need surgery. There's nothing that we can do to help you. And this is including acupuncturists, including holistic doctors. And then I also had gone to allopathic doctors too, right? Western doctors. And they were just kind of stumped with what was going on with me. And Ayurveda was the only practice that, when I fully immersed in what my Ayurvedic doctors and practitioners were telling me to do, that helped me clear up the condition that I had. So it's just shown up for me in many ways, and it's just proven to be what works for me, and I've seen it work for so many other people as well. So I am an Ayurveda. I'm in school right now for Ayurveda, clinical Ayurveda. So a lot of these things are practices that I'll also be able to, and I am working with people one-on-one with as well. So if you have deeper questions about something that comes up, if you have a really individualized question, please contact me directly, and then we could set something up and figure out what we can do to help you out. But here we go. What is Ayurveda? So it's about a 5,000-year-old healing science from India, and it literally translates to the science of life. It's a way to actually recognize that everything that's going on in nature outside is also going on within me. When I look outside and I see that, the snow is melting, or it's raining and it's muddy, right? I feel that in myself sometimes. Even outside situations for myself that are stressors or things that cause anxiety or things that cause frustration. Ayurveda teaches me how to recognize that that's going on around me. And it's inevitably going to impact what's going on inside of me if I'm not in control of what it is that I'm receiving that information through, right? And it's the senses. And that's also why yoga and Ayurveda work so beautifully together, because in yoga, we talk, especially in yoga philosophy, about how to manage the senses, how to be in control of the senses, how to be in control of our thought patterns, how to be in control of how I react and respond to things. So Ayurveda teaches the same thing, that we need to be in control of these things to actually find balance in our lives. So when it comes to health, when we look at health through the lens of Ayurveda, we look at full being health. That means that I'm looking at the quality of my physical health, my mental health, and also my spiritual health, and also even my heart, what's going on with my relationships and the friendships that I have, and how loving am I showing up to my day-to-day life. We're not going to talk too much about all three of the doshas in this class, but there are three of them, right? Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. And if you want to know more about each dosha individually, or how these doshas show up within you in different ways, you could contact me. Or if you're a member of any of the offerings that I have, either the seasonal cleanses, or our 8-week program called Ayurveda Alchemy, or the on-demand library of classes, you'll learn much more about the doshas, and we'll deep dive into them very, 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 very deeply. But I'm going to be focusing on Kapha dosha, because in the springtime, Kapha dosha is everywhere. It increases, and it's really what's responsible for causing certain imbalances during the spring. Uh, Vata and Pitta, the doshas, these other doshas will govern different times of the year and different seasons. But Kapha dosha is really the energy, the fundamental energy that oversees mostly everything during the late winter and early spring, and then through the springtime. When it comes to the doshas are made up of the elements, right? Earth, fire, air, water, and ether. And if you just look outside of your window or take a walk outside, you can actually feel the elements around you at different times of the day, during different parts of your life, right? During the seasons. We see during the summer, for example, at least in New York, the fire element's a little bit higher. There's more fire in the air. In the fall, we'll see that there's more air, right? Things start to be more spacious. And when we see that happening in the world outside of us, that's also a mirror for what's happening within us. So in the springtime, which is what we're moving into now, if we're not already there, the spring is really responsible for I don't want to say it's responsible for. It sounds like I'm making it I'm shaming it a little bit. I'm not, but in the springtime, we're more susceptible to springtime allergies, to weight gain, to feeling like we're a little bit heavier, to feeling like maybe we're a little bit stuck either in certain thought patterns, certain ways, or just literally kind of like feeling stuck in our body, right? There might be certain things where there might be some constipation, there might be some issues with just movement and stagnation in the body. There might be a lot of, not a lot, but certain aches and pains. Sometimes people complain that there's certain low back pain or upper back pain, or things like that during this time, because there's stagnation in the body. And it's because kapha is made up of the earth and water elements. So during kapha season, again, that's springtime, which is what we're in right now. And if you're in a place where you're experiencing spring, uh, because it's made of earth and it's comprised of the earth and the water elements, will literally feel like what happens when earth and water combine, right? When you combine earth and water, it could be really muddy. You can feel like things are really stuck and sluggish. The qualities that make up earth and water are qualities like heavy, slow, steady, solid, cold, soft, and oily. Really cool more than cold, not so much cold. And Kapha is, again, because it's made up of the elements of earth and water, and those elements are made up of the qualities that are slow, steady, solid, soft, oily. We need those qualities for structure. We need that everywhere for structure. So we never want to fully like get rid of kapha dosha ever, but we need we need this dosha to actually feel like we're grounded in a place, to actually feel like we're stable, to actually feel like, whoa, I have the world swirling around me sometimes, but I've got a foundation and I know where I stand. We need kapha for that. But when these qualities are increased, that's when it can feel like things are muddy and stagnant, and it can feel like things are just not moving, right? So, again, cough is associated with the late winter and spring. Naturally, we see these increased qualities in the environment. Things are a little cooler, things are damp. There's the whole like that saying, right? April showers bring May flowers. It's raining all the time sometimes. And then when you step outside, if you live in a place where there's grass and nature, it's going to be muddy, or you're going to be around things like puddles. Even on the slide that we're looking at, it just looks really like wet, right? It looks like if you step outside and you go outside in shoes that aren't waterproof, you're going to feel like your socks are getting damp and cold and all of that. When there's an increase in kapha, naturally, we need to make decisions that will keep the excess kapha, either will to move out excess kapha, or we need to start to make decisions that will prevent kapha from building up. When kapha builds up, which happens for lots of us during kapha season, it can look like seasonal allergies. It could feel like we've gained a little bit of weight. There can be some sluggishness, lack of ambition, feeling that stuckness, or even things physically, feeling like there's almost like a heavy feeling in the stomach, and also feeling like we're not digesting things too well. So when that starts to happen, it's not a bad thing, but we need to be aware of it. Another thing, I just want to make a point that our bodies are really smart. We have intelligent bodies. We have an intelligent system that we're actually existing in these bodies here on planet Earth. Because when it's winter time, when it's really cold outside, naturally, our body starts to just produce extra lubrication. That way, we're not totally dried out, right? In the winter, if you think about a cold, dry winter day, and by dry, I don't mean that it's dry outside on the ground. It just feels like the air is crisp, almost like it cuts through your face. That's something that usually will happen in the wintertime. And then in the wintertime, if we're feeling that, if we're existing in a dry quality, if we're existing in a very cold environment, and if we're not incorporating lifestyle and diet practices that balance that out, our body will do that for us. So, according to Ayurveda, if during the winter, before the springtime, I'm not eating foods and practicing practices that will keep me balanced in the winter, and by that I mean things that will help me balance the cold and sharp weather that's outside. So ideally during the winter, I should be having warm, easy to digest foods like stews, cooked things, things that are spiced, that have warming spices in them. If I'm doing that, I'm less likely to start to feel the imbalances during kapha season during the spring. But if I'm not doing that, let's say during the winter, I've just been drinking frozen smoothies all the time and eating a lot of raw salads, that's going to increase those cold qualities within me. And then my body, because it's so intellectual, so is yours, the body's naturally going to start to produce more lubrication to keep the body warm and to keep the body out of that dryness, which means when springtime rolls around, just like in the weather outside, when we look outside at the weather, the snow is melting and things are getting a little bit warmer. That's happening inside of our bodies too. So if I haven't been balancing all winter, then when the springtime comes, there's literally almost a melt going on inside of me, and there's going to be excess kapha. There's going to be the excess things like the phlegminess and like that wetness that'll start to manifest in my body. It's okay if that's happening because we can totally balance that as we move into kapha season. It's about noticing stuff, right? If you notice that you're waking up in the morning and you're like a little mucusy, uh, or you would start to notice that you're really sluggish in the morning, or you start to notice that you're feeling like you're not digesting your food too well, it's great that noticing things are the first step. Because once we notice that there may be a little bit of a kapha imbalance, or that we're like smack in the middle of kapha season and we haven't done too many things yet to balance kapha, uh, we can just fix that, right? With diet and exercise. Diet and exercise are key. In Ayurveda, we try to treat most things with lifestyle changes and with certain diet changes before we start to incorporate even things like natural herbs or other practices. So we try to really like nip it with diet and exercise first, or diet and lifestyle first. So keys to balancing kapha, finding balance during kapha season, is anything that's going to counteract the heavy and stable qualities that you may already be feeling within you, or that you may be seeing outside around you. This is a time, kapha season, which a lot of us are, if you're experiencing springtime right now, you're in it right now, maybe you're moving into it right now, or if you're not in kapha season right at the moment, these are just things to keep in mind for when you are experiencing either kapha imbalance or when you're in kapha season. So adjustments in diet and exercise. The practices that I want to be doing physically during kapha season, or if I'm simply just feeling like I'm not digesting well, or if I feel heavy, either in my mind, my heart, my soul, or physically in my body, I want to exercise. So that doesn't mean that you have to, go join a gym and do like a million boot camp classes every week. It literally just means move your body. So maybe after each meal, you take, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to just go walk around outside. Maybe that means if you already have an exercise routine that you have in your life, that you maybe incorporate a little bit more heating yoga practices. So maybe more vigorous yoga, or, you go, if you do already take walks and things like that, you just walk a little quicker for 5 minutes just to try to get the heart rate up and feel like you're actually creating heat in your body. Depends on the person. So for some people, just going for a walk every day is going to start to balance out that excess kapha. For some people, there might need to be a little bit more heat that's brought up. So maybe it turns into a power walk, or again, like I mentioned, maybe more vigorous yoga practices, or maybe you start riding a bike, something like that. And this is something that's really just specific from person to person. When it comes to diet, I'm going to talk about specific things in the next slide. But if you think about just food and drinks in general, if I am already feeling really heavy and weighed down, maybe I feel like I gained a little weight, or I'm not digesting my food well. Uh, if I feel like there's just a heavy feeling in my stomach as I move through my day or after I eat, maybe I'm not feeling hungry, I don't have hunger. That's all signs that there can be too much kapha already. When I look at what I may eat, or food choices that I'm going to start to pick if I'm already feeling that way, do you think a really heavy, cheesy, bready pizza is going to be a good choice? No, probably, definitely not. Especially if I'm already feeling heavy. Same thing, things like, I don't know, things like eggplant parmesan or ice cream, uh, foods that are already naturally heavy feeling are going to make me feel more heavy during kapha season. So you don't even have to like have this full on knowledge of Ayurveda. It's fine if you're even like thinking, whoa, I forgot what the qualities of kapha already are. Ayurveda just is the key is to actually sit and notice how it is that you're feeling in the moment, and then becoming aware of what food and drinks you're putting into your body to actually help balance that out. So some things that we can do is adjust the diet. You'll want to favor light, dry, and warm foods to counteract kapha's heavy, oily qualities. So, just like I mentioned before, maybe avoiding having that heavy pizza every couple of times a week. Heavy food, cold food that's not cooked, uh, foods that are really easy to digest. So soups, different. I'm going to talk about spices in a minute, but things like stews, things that are a little bit lighter too. So probably not like the heavy, like, heavy duty chilies with a lot of sweet potatoes that you might have been eating during the winter. But just noticing what even is in season right now, noticing what vegetables and things are in season and favoring that. So increasing bitter, pungent, and stringent tastes. Uh, Kapha, one of the tastes. So in Ayurveda, there's different tastes that we try to get into our bodies and put into our meals. One of the tastes that's specific to Kapha is sweet. So if I'm only having sweet things, and sweet things are also rice has a sweet quality to it. The obviously sweet things like certain sweets, right? Like cookies and heavy like cakes and stuff like that. That's, obviously sweet, but we don't want to increase the sweet taste. We want to start to increase a little bit more of the bitter, pungent, and stringent tastes. And things like that are just the more bitter herbs and spices and foods. Leafy greens are really good at this time. Things like spinach. Spinach is naturally has a little bit of a bitterness to it and stringency to it. So that's something that you might even notice is popping up in like the farmers markets and stuff like that. And then yeah, leafy green soups. Ginger and turmeric are two really good spices to just incorporate into, I mean, almost everything. You can throw them in stews, soups. You could just have them ready on hand all the time and just add a few shakes into whatever it is you're already cooking. And then right there, it's just an easy way to get those qualities into whatever you're taking in terms of lifestyle, vigorous exercise, and that could just be brisk walking, jogging, or biking. If you normally don't do too much, now's the time to incorporate actually making it a point to get up and go for those walks. Get outside, move your body. And then we talk about this in other classes about the different times of day that are associated with the different doshas. Kapha time of day is 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And if you wake up naturally, if you're just waking up at like 7, 8, 9 a.m. and you feel like you're lethargic and it's hard for you to move, maybe try to wake up a little bit earlier and then you'll be able to actually be moving and getting things done before that kapha time of day sets in. If you have a dry brushing is really helpful to stimulate the lymphatic system. Also, just get things moving, right? To get rid of that stagnant energy of kapha. If you can do steam and saunas are really great to counteract that really heavy and stagnant feeling that comes with kapha. And then yoga also, as some of the yoga practice, the poses are specific to each person. But if you can start to incorporate things like sun salutations, maybe even really incorporating more chest opening and twists. Twists are really helpful during kapha season. And then pranayama, if you're familiar with any of these, Kapalabhati and Bhastrika breathing. So anything that's actually sharp and starts to get the breath flowing and moving. And again, going for a walk that just gets your heart rate up a little bit, where you feel like, oh, I have to take an extra breath in, and you feel like things are moving and flowing, that'll also do it. That'll be incredibly helpful. Something that's really cool about Ayurveda, in my opinion, is that herbs and spices that you might have right in your own kitchen cabinet can work like medicine in so many ways. So I'll talk about Trikatu in a moment, but things like Tulsi, you can make Tulsi tea if you have access to Tulsi. You can buy that online. It's just a really good tea to actually get things moving and get things stimulating. Cinnamon, you may already have cinnamon in your kitchen cabinet. If you drink tea or coffee, you can add some cinnamon to it and just stir it up. And then you've got your cinnamon, and you've got all the qualities that cinnamon brings moving through you and helping break up that kapha. Uh, Trickatoo. So Trickatoo is a mix of ginger, black pepper, and long pepper. I think you can really only find long pepper in like Indian supermarkets and stuff like that. But uh, Trickatoo, you could just mix with water or even with some honey, and that helps break up excess kapha. Uh, with Trickatoo, I can even leave a link for that in the notes for this. It's something that you can Google and kind of find in most Ayurvedic websites. I use the one from Banyan Botanicals, and I'll share that too when I leave the notes for this. Lastly, I just wanted to touch on embracing change, right? We talked a whole bunch about how Kapha is what we need to be stable. We need Kapha to be able to create a foundation for something. We need that. We need Kapha. We need the doshas. We're made up of all the doshas. But right now, during Kapha season, since there's a tendency towards attachment and stagnation, it's a really beautiful time to start to embrace change as a way to find balance through the season. Uh, if you journal, you might start to journal a little bit more and just start to notice what it is that's changing around you. And if you're holding any kind of resistance towards those changes, and then maybe think about why. Uh, it's a really, really powerful season to start to release what happened over like the fall and the winter and acknowledge that we're moving into new birth. We're moving into new ideas. We're moving into a space to create new routines. We're moving into a time where it's a powerful time to like literally plant seeds for things that are going to manifest in the next few months, whether it's literal flowers and plants outside or ideas and goals and things like that that we might have for ourselves. So it's a really good time to start to embrace change and to start to acknowledge that we're it's okay to move, it's okay to switch direction, and we need movement, we need to release any kind of tension that or hold that we might have on old ideas. So I do have on the screen my website. If you don't already know it, it's just lisabermudez.com. And I will include in the notes some links and information for some of the stuff that I talked about. But please, please, please don't hesitate to email me, uh, get in touch with me however you need to if you have questions about anything, or if you wanted to even set up a one-on-one and talk about some stuff that could be going on with you.